Hi, welcome. I'm Donna, and this is Yoga for You. And we're going to enjoy a gentle practice today. And I call this gentle practice facilitating a shift. And this is the idea of facilitating a shift within our own being, whether maybe you feel the shift today needs to be a more physical shift, or perhaps a mental shift, maybe an emotional shift. Whatever you feel like you're needing today, I want you to just take a moment as we come to a seat. Sitting up nice and tall. And just take a moment to kind of scan how you're feeling without any judgment, just noticing where you're at this moment. Allow your eyes to close. And try not to pass any judgment on where you're at today. Just notice if there's any space within you that could facilitate a shift. Perhaps you got up on the wrong side of the bed today, and you feel like you need a little attitude adjustment. You need to make that shift. Or maybe you're feeling physically fatigued or tight. Maybe there's a little aches and pains somewhere. Maybe there's aches and pains a lot of places. And you want to facilitate a little shift. You want to create that energetic shift within your own body. So we just take these few moments at the beginning of our practice to become aware, to become conscious of this very moment, to become present. Bring your awareness to your sits bones. Those are the bones in each buttocks. So just become aware of your own sits bones. Become aware of your own spine. From the tailbone all the way up to the cervical spine, the back of the neck. Become aware of your front body and your back body. And notice if there feels like there's a really nice balance between the two. So we're not leaning too far forward or we're not leaning back, and we're finding this balance. Become aware of your shoulders, allow them to relax. The crown of the head is reaching towards the ceiling. The eyes are softly closed, the eyes relaxed behind the lids. The face and the tongue are relaxed. And we allow the awareness to move towards our breath. And just take a moment and just observing your breath, how it's presenting itself to you at this moment. And just by the very nature of observing our breath, you may notice that it begins to shift. Facilitating a shift in our breath by allowing the breath to become a little deeper, elongating the inhalation and exhalation. And finding that diaphragmatic breath or that belly breathing. As you inhale, feel the belly gently expand. And as you exhale, it gently contracts. Very little movement going on in the chest area through this diaphragmatic breathing. Feel the ribs expand and contract almost like an accordion. One of the number one ways that we can facilitate a shift in our bodies energetically is through the breath. Finding this full diaphragmatic breath. When you come around to your next exhalation, allow the eyes to open. Now, if you have any blocks around your house or something that you might want to utilize as blocks, something that can just lift the floor up to you a little bit, go ahead and pause the video and grab them. If you don't have anything, don't worry. We're not going to use them extensively, so get them if you got them. And let's begin by bringing our right heel in line with the left heel, if this is possible. So just quickly, when we kind of tuck those heels underneath the thighs to kind of support the thighs, this is called Sukasana, okay? It's an easy pose, not easy for everyone, but that's what it's called. And when we start to take the legs wider, so you can see instead of tucking them in, I'm taking them a little wider. So maybe the ankles align, ankle to ankle or heel to heel. And this is referred to as Sadasana, which means accomplished pose. So allow the legs to come as wide as you comfortably can in a cross-legged position with our right leg in front. Sit up nice and tall, and then bring your fingertips down to the floor on either side of the hips. We're just going to start to move some energy here. Inhale, sweep your palms up, breathe in. Exhale, sweep your palms down as we breathe out. Again. Three more times like this. Breathing in. And out. Last round. And then bring the hands down to the mat in front of you. Shoulders slide back. Work at lengthening the spine by lifting the center of the heart, the sternum up. That doesn't mean the chin has to lift. We're just lifting the chest, creating length in our own spine. Now, you might choose to stay here, especially if you have any lumbar disc issues, where rounding into the lower back may not be optimal for you. Otherwise, you can stay here, or we can start to walk forward. Now, you can walk your hands as far forward as you would like, allowing the chin to move towards the throat, elongating the back of the neck, or some of you might like to drop down to forearms or all the way down. So you choose where you want to go here. Just stay with that steady diaphragmatic breath. Gently draw the low belly in. And when I'm referring to the low belly, think of the area between the pubic bone and the navel, as if you have a little zipper there. And draw the low belly in and zip those kind of snug jeans. So we're helping to protect the low back and the seated forward fold. What we're trying to do is get a little bit more opening through the outer hips, which tend to become really tight if you have a more sedentary life. They also can be tight if you're a runner or a cyclist. Now just begin to walk both hands towards that right knee. Doesn't matter how far you go, as long as you're feeling a little bit of stretch, some sort of shift happening. And then begin to walk yourself back through center and make your way up. Inhale, reach the arms overhead, and as you exhale, release that left hand down to the mat. Let it slide away from you and move into a nice side bend or lateral flexion. Keep that left shoulder relaxed. Now you can gaze down, you can gaze straight ahead, or you can even roll the right side of the chest open a little to gaze up. Whatever feels best for your neck. Right now, take one more breath. Inhale up, bring that right hand down behind you. Roll the right shoulder back as that left arm crosses to the right knee. Now sit up a little taller in your seat. Zip up those snug jeans and begin to take an easy twist to the right. Take one more round of breath from here. And then slowly begin to unwind. Brace your hands on your knees, and let's do a couple seated cat-cows. Inhale, lift the chest, shoulders drop back, lift your gaze a little back bend. Exhale, hold yourself in place by the hands, look towards your navel. Let's do this a couple more times, breathing in and breathing out. 2 more times. And last round. And then inhale to an upright spine. And let's just change the cross of those legs. So bringing that left heel or ankle in a line with the other heel or ankle. Sit up nice and tall, and then bring both hands to center. And once again, same as that first side, start to walk the hands out. Now pause a moment. Zip up those snug jeans, so draw the lower belly in. And remember, this isn't a gripping, a squeezing. It's a gentle engagement of the lower belly. You can come all the way forward if that suits you. And just take a few rounds of breath here. Hopefully you're feeling just a little bit more sensation in the outer left hip through those hip stabilizing muscles, maybe deeper into the left glute, into the piriformis muscle. Take one more round of breath from here. And then just start to walk both hands over to the left. Feel that gentle stretching opening through that right side body. And then start to make your way back through center and make your way up. Inhale, both arms overhead. And this time release that right hand down. Let it slide away from the hips and move into that side bend. Again, gaze can be down, forward, or roll that left chest open, look up a little. Up to you, how you're feeling today. Take one more breath here. Inhale up, bring that left hand behind the sacrum, roll the left shoulder open as that right arm crosses. Now sit up a little taller in your seat. Draw your low belly in and make an easy twist to the left. Take one more breath here, and then begin to unwind. Once again, bringing your hands to your knees, couple cat-cows. Inhale to an arch, a little back bend. Exhale to a little bit of a forward fold. Breathing in and out. 2 more. Last round. Inhale back to that upright position. Roll those shoulders a few times. Notice if any tension is beginning to accumulate. Relax the arms. And now dip your chin towards the notch at the base of your throat. Watch that you're not rounding into your upper back as you do this. And then lift the gaze, look up a bit without dropping your head all the way back over that cervical spine. Gazing down and gazing up. Let's do 2 more. Looking up. Last one. And then bring your head back into neutral. Look over your right shoulder and then over your left shoulder. So we want to try and maintain as much range of motion in our cervical spine, our neck as we can. One more time. And bring your gaze back to neutral. Now slowly let your right ear drop towards your right shoulder. And just pause here. This may be plenty of a stretch for you along the top of that left shoulder, the upper trapezius muscle, along the neck. If you want, reach those left fingertips outside that left hip and feel like you're pushing the mat away from you. And that's going to give you a little greater degree of stretch. And then bring that left hand back. Bring your right fingertips to your right temple and help the head come back to neutral. And then slowly let the left ear drop towards the left shoulder. If you like that additional stretch on the first side, bring those right fingertips outside the right hip. Gently push away. If this feels too much for you today, then don't do that. And then bring that hand back. Bring your left fingertips to your left temple and bring yourself back to neutral. Now from the tip of your nose, just draw some big circles in the air in front of you. And then go the other direction. If you're hearing some snap, crackle, pops, one more, come back to center. As long as it's not accompanied by pain, don't get too worried about it. It's called a crepitus, and it happens to all of us. Now bring those arms out to the side with the palms up. Cross that left elbow under the right elbow, and then bend your left elbow. And then start to twist slightly to the left as you draw that right bicep, inner arm towards you. So what I'm hoping you're getting is feeling a little stretch, the outer right shoulder, that right deltoid. If it feels too much, back up. And then release that, bring the arms back out. Now let's take the other one. That right elbow is going to cross under the left. The right elbow will bend. Turn your left palm back behind you and start to draw that arm in and slightly to the right till you feel a nice stretch. Not too much. Make sure it's accessible for you. And then slowly release. Roll out those shoulders a little bit. And let's make our way to tabletop position, all fours. Now, if you've got sensitive knees, you may want to put a blanket or a cushion under your knees here. When we come to tabletop, we're stacking shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Watch that you don't sag here. So start to lift your front ribs up, lift that low belly up, and see if you can find that sense of neutral. And now drop your hips to the right, let them sweep back and over to the left, and then round a little in that cat. And then do this a few times going in the same direction. You're going to just notice what feels best for you, for your knees here. One more time around. And when we come back to neutral, let's switch it to the other side. So just feel that movement of the spine, of the hips. We're just trying to facilitate a little shift of energy here. One more time around. And come back to center. Take the right toes back behind you. So my toes are actually curling under and they're on the mat. Watch that you didn't sag through the midsection again. So lift up. Stay connected through your core. Shoulders relax back away from the ears. Now lift that right leg up. I'm flexing my foot, keeping my belly drawn in. Then bend your right knee. Sole of the foot faces to the ceiling, almost like you're holding a little platter on that foot. Now try to kick up without letting that right hip roll to the ceiling. So kick up and tap down. Up and tap. Up. Tap two more. Now this last time, hold it. Now pulse it up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the leg. Now cross the right toes over to the left. Look over your left shoulder and see if you can see your right toes. Energetically, allow the right shoulder to move slightly forward as you draw the right hip slightly back, facilitating a little bit deeper stretch of that right side body. Now come back to center. Take your right foot out to the right. So I'm going to back up a little so you can see. Roll your right toes forward so they're facing towards the front of the mat. Then press your pinky toe edge of the foot down. That's going to give you a little more lift through the inner right knee and inner right thigh, those adductor muscles. Now right here may be plenty for you. We're getting a stretch to the inner right thigh. If you want, you can start to shift your hips back. Now I'm curling my back toes under just because I like that additional stretch for that left foot. So you choose if you want to or not. And then we're going to shift forward. So it's not a big movement, it's more subtle. But I'm moving back and forth a little so I can determine where I'm feeling the greatest amount of stretch that's accessible for me today. And once I find that, I'm going to pause there. This is an isometric stretch, so it's action without movement. Take one more breath here, and then shift forward and slide that right knee back into place. So we're going to slide that left foot back, toes are curled under. Again, check in with your posture. Draw your ribs and belly in. Now float those left toes off the mat and bend the knee. Sole of the foot is flexed and sole of the foot facing to the ceiling. Watch it and sag through the midsection, lift up. So we're going to kick up without letting that left heel roll open, or left hip roll open, sorry. And tap. Kick and tap. Two more. Kick it up, tap it down. Last one, kick it up. Now hold it here. And let's pulse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now straighten it out. Now take that left foot and cross it over to the right side. Look over your right shoulder at your left foot. Energetically, try and move your left shoulder forward a bit, your left hip back a little bit. So we facilitate a little greater stretch of that left side body. And now we're going to bring it back in, and we're going to take that left foot out to the left. Pivot your toes so they face forward if possible. Start to press down. Notice, if you allow that pinky toe side of the foot to roll open, your inner thigh and inner knee collapse. So press it down. Get that little lift. Now we're going to move back and forth a little. So I'm going to shift my hips back. It doesn't have to be a big amount. And as you make this movement, notice where you're feeling the greatest stretch that is accessible for you to hold for a moment. So my stretch comes about part way back. And we're going to just pause there. Find the breath. And then shift forward and slide that left leg back in. Now come up and just shake out your wrists a little. Be very gentle. So oftentimes when we're on hands and knees or anything where there's weight bearing on the wrist, they get a little tender. So shake it out. And then we're going to come back. And let's do a couple of our cat-cows. So find neutral first. And from neutral, we lift our tail up, back arches, our chest and gaze lifts up. So we're getting a really nice stretch to the front lines of the body. Then curl your tail under, roll up the spine, look to your navel, and get a nice stretch to the back body. Let's do that again. Curl your tail up, roll up the spine, inhale. Curl the tail down, exhale. Do this a few times as we find this articulation in our spine. We want to keep our spine as healthy as possible. So sometimes these nice, easy movements can facilitate that. Let's do one more. And now, as you start to round, start to drop those hips back to the heels, child's pose. If your knees don't bend this much, come into this greater flexion, don't come all the way down. Now come up right into that cow pose, that arch. Exhale, come right back into that child's pose. Two more times. Last round. Now this time, as I come up, I'm going to shift my weight forward and release my hips. Shoulders stay back. Don't let them crunch up. Press the floor away. If this feels too much, do your cow pose. And then I'm going to lift up through my navel and press back. I'm going to do this 2 more times. Shift forward. Allow my hips to gently release towards the floor and shift back. This next time we're going to pause there. So we're going to shift forward and then bend your elbows and lower down. Hands framing the chest. Check in with your shoulders. They should roll up and back. Hug your elbows in towards your body, towards midline. Gazes down, even tucked in the chin just slightly. Now press your pubic bone down. That will lengthen the tail towards the heels. Inhale, begin to peel up. You don't have to go as high as I am. Exhale, flow back down. Check your shoulders. Inhale, peel up, cobra pose. Exhale, lower back down. One more time. Now this time, lift from your navel section, press up and back. Come to your forearms and just roll out those wrists a few times. Especially if you have any existing wrist issues. Now, if you're not practicing down dog today, you're welcome to stay in child's pose. Otherwise, we're going to curl the toes under, slide the hips back, begin to lift the knees, and at first start with bent knees. Wrist creases face forward. Now feel like you're stretching your mat forward through the strength in the hands. Arms are straight, spine is straight. Look back at your feet and slowly begin to press the heels in the direction of the mat. Don't get too attached to whether they touch or not. It really doesn't matter. Draw your ribs and belly in. Couple breaths here. You can drop down at any time you want. And now slowly either walk your hands back to meet your feet or start to walk your feet up to meet your hands. So we end up in this nice forward fold. Roll those wrists a few times. Slide your hands to your shins. Lift up. Now I want everyone to pause here, and the reason is because when I'm teaching my public classes, this half lift or Ardha Uttanasana, what I see a lot is this rounding and this dangling, which doesn't do you any good. So if you cannot touch the floor and lengthen your spine, bring your hands to your shins. We're trying to get the roundness out of the upper back. So draw the center of your heart forward as the shoulders slide back. Belly in, and then slide back down. Again, come up and lengthen, and exhale down. Now we're going to come all the way up. So find the length first. Hands can sweep out or come to your hips. And take your time as you hinge up. Bringing your hands overhead. And bring your hands down to your heart. Shake it out a little. Shake out those wrists. Shake out the legs. Like we're kind of just resetting ourselves. So find mountain pose on your mat. So your feet might be inner hip distance or outer hip. It's up to you. If you have stability issues or vertigo, maybe your feet are a little wider. Breathe here. Now sweep your arms out to the side. This is just for balance purposes. If you want to try, hands can be overhead wherever you like. Press down into your right foot and lift your left heel up without letting the hips shift on you. Pause here, and then see if you can start to lift that left knee. So my foot is flexed as if I'm stepping on a tall bench. Drop your left sits bone a little so the hips and the sacrum stay level. Breathe here, and then release down. Shake it out. So try that on the second side. I'm going to reach my arms out for balance. Lift your right heel up. Keep your hips level, then lift that knee. Drop that sits bone, flex the foot. And just pause here. If you're touching down and coming back up, that's fine. And release, shake that out. So we're gonna try that one more time. This time I'm gonna reach my arms overhead, you don't have to. Lift the left heel up, keep your hips and sacrum stable as you lift that foot up. I'm gonna reach my arms overhead, pause, and then slowly return back to center. Arms out, lift your right heel up, lift that right leg up, maybe the arms come overhead. Take one more breath and release yourself back to neutral. Now shake that out. So we're going to do just a little bit of a little tiny bit of flow, okay? So I'll show you what we're gonna do first so you're knowing what's happening. We're gonna come to the top of our mat, whichever. I keep moving just so I can align myself with the camera. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to that crescent, or that balance pose. Then I'm gonna step that right foot back, toes under. Tilt the tailbone down as the hips rise. You don't have to do this with me right now. And the arms come overhead. So we're in crescent pose or Anjaneyasana. Good, we're going to, and then we'll come back up and release. So we're gonna do that and then I'm gonna add to it, all right? So find mountain pose at the top of your mat. Sweep your arms out for balance purposes. Lift your right knee up and pause. Then step your right foot back. You're gonna try and stay on your toes. Make sure you're on railroad tracks, not a balance beam. So your feet are as wide as your hips. And then sweep those arms up. Tilt your tail down as your pubic bone lifts towards your navel. Now we're gonna step right back up. So the arms are going to come out. You're gonna slide that right foot through right back into balance. And then release and shake that out. So let's do the second side. I'm gonna move to the other side just so we're still facing the camera. You don't need to. Arms sweep out, left knee rises. Step left foot back, root it down. Now tilt the tailbone down. Pubic bone rises as we lift our arms. Find the balance. Come back through, so the arms are going to come back out for balance. Slide that left leg through. Release it down, shake that out. So now I'm going to add to it. Come back in a mountain pose. Arms sweep out, right knee lifts. Step your right foot back. Tilt the tail down as the arms rise, crescent pose. Now we're going to spin our right heel down. We're going to spin open to the long edge of our mat. Arms are out. Breathe here. As we exhale, release your hands to the mat and hinge forward. Notice if more weight is dropping back into your heels. So shift your weight forward a little. So the weight is more evenly distributed in the feet and the hips align over the ankles. Shoulders slide away from the ears, away from the floor. Now, if you have any issues where you should not, the doctor's recommended you don't build any pressure in your head, then you're going to bring your hands up and you're going to come higher and keep the head aligned with the heart. Now, inhale, rise to your fingertips. Lift your heart forward and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Now we're going to try to go right back to that crescent. So the left toes are going to pivot forward. I'm going to pivot that right hip up and reach the arms up. Arms will come out. We're going to step that right foot through and release down. Nice. So I'm going to stay on this side. Let's do that second side. Reach the arms out, lift your left leg up, find your balance. Step your left foot back, stay on the toes if possible. Tilt the tail down as the pubic bone rises, arms reach. Good. Now that back heel is going to pivot down, arms open wide. We're facing the long edge of the mat again. Breathe in. Exhale, hinge forward and fold. Inhale, rise to your fingertips, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Here we go. We go through length first. Add your arms, rise up. Pivot your right toes forward. Pivot the left heel off the mat, reach up. Reach the arms out, step forward. Find balance and release down. Shake that out. Excellent. Let's try to do that one more time. The difference is when I fold forward, this time I'm going to try to find a mudra clasp behind my back. If that doesn't serve you, you can bring your hands to your hips or to the floor. Find mountain pose at the top of your mat. Arms out, right knee rises. Keep breathing. Now step your right toes back. Stay on the toes if possible. Tailbone anchors down as we rise up. Breathe. Watch your front knee maintains alignment. It's not rolling in on you. Now spin your right heel down. Pivot open to the long edge. Inhale. This time reach your arms up. Exhale. If you want, clasp your hands. Again, if it's not available, hands to your hips. Lift your heart. Exhale. Fold forward. Now, if your hamstrings, backs of your legs are really tight, and this feels too much stress, bring your hands down to the floor for that support. Now inhale, pull the hands down, pull the chest up, rise, take your time. Good. Reach the arms out, pivot your left toes forward. Right heel will pivot off the floor. Come back into your crescent pose. Arms out to the side, bring your right knee forward, pause. Release down. Second side, arms out, left knee rises. Step your left foot back, stay on the toes, tilt the tailbone as the arms rise. Breathe. Now spin your left heel down, open up. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, find that clasp. Inhale, roll the shoulders back, the chest rises. Exhale, hinge from your hips, fold forward. Keep the fronts of your shoulders rolling back towards the spine, not towards your chest. Now inhale, lengthen, take your time, rise up, reach out. Pivot your right toes forward, spin your back heel up, come into crescent. Reach your arms out, step forward, release down, and just shake that all out. Excellent work. We're going to take a little sun salutation, but I'm going to modify it. So we're not doing our plank and chaturanga. If you prefer to add that in, and that's part of your regular practice, that's fine as well. Okay? Find the top of your mat. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward, keeping a softness in the knees. Inhale, lift your heart to lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold, step back to down dog. Take a breath here. And again, if you're doing your regular vinyasa, going to plank, that's fine. Otherwise, release your knees, come to table. Inhale, arch your back. That cow pose. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Now this last one, inhale to that back bend. As you exhale, shift back to down dog. Gaze forward, make your transition to the top of your mat. Inhale, find that lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift, sweep the arms out, rise. Exhale, draw your hands to your heart, gather that energy. Breathe in. Exhale, release your hands. So we're going to do that 2 more times. If there's anything you need or want to modify, that's fine. Just add it in. Here we go. Breathe in, arms reach. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale for the lift. Exhale, step back to down dog. Now you get to see my dog as well. Take a breath. Exhale, release to table. Inhale to that cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale, and on your exhale, make your way back to down dog. Gaze forward, make your transition to the top of your mat. Inhale for the lift. Sorry you get to see my dog's bum. Exhale, fold. Inhale for the lift, rise. Exhale, hands to your heart. So if you have been following me, you'll know this is Bailey. She's a bull mastiff. She's also blind as a bat. So she kind of wanders wherever she hears my voice. Last set. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale for the lift. Exhale, step back, down dog. Inhale here. Exhale, knees to the mat. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Now this time, inhale, lift. On your exhale, make your way back to child's pose. And pause there. Find the breath. When you come around to your next inhale, just shift forward to table. Hopefully you don't have a giant 120-pound dog in your way. Now, if you've got your blocks, grab your blocks. If not, that's fine as well. So from tabletop, we're going to just slide our right foot through into a lunge. Gently hug your outer right hip back so your SI joint, the sacroiliac joint, stays a little more level here. I'm always tilting my tailbone down. It's not a tuck. It's a tilting down as my chest lifts. Breathe. Now you can determine how deep of a lunge. I'm going to just break off here while you're lunging. Come here, baby. Come on over here. My dog is not listening to me. Come here. She thinks I'm tricking her into something. Come on, baby. Because she's blind and I have stuff reconfigured in here, it's confusing the heck out of her. If any of you have a blind dog, you know what I'm referring to. You've got to really, we're like, instead of a blind, dog helping, or a dog helping a blind person, it's the opposite way here. So if I'm really tight, I might lift up a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to let my hips descend. So my right sits bone is descending towards my right heel, shoulders back. So I'm getting a really nice stretch. Now, if you're here and your right knee is coming way over your foot, I strongly suggest you just move your foot forward a little. There are exceptions to that rule, but I'm not going to go into all of those right now. So we just work on our alignment. Now begin to straighten your right leg. My hips will move back, and I'm going to roll my right toes up towards the ceiling. So I'm keeping my foot very active. In my lineage of yoga, it's referred to as Barbie foot. I'm sure you've probably heard that before, or a floint. Keep your chest lifted. If you begin to really round here, you've lost some of that stretch. So shoulders back. Feel as if you're pulling your chest towards those right toes. Now, if you want a little bit more isometric work here, firmly press your right heel down into the mat and then try and pull it back. By the way, it's not moving, but you're trying. Try and pull it back. And you're going to facilitate a deeper contraction in those three big hamstring muscles on the back of the leg. If it feels too much, back off of it. And now shift back into your lunge, whatever that means to you. And then we're going to shift back and slide back to table. Bring that left foot through. Find your alignment first. So your left knee is over your left ankle. You can come more upright. Of course, I'm tilting my tail down. It's not a tuck. It's a lengthening. My chest lifts. I could choose to stay here, or because I have the flexibility, I can move deeper into the pose. Entirely up to you. Figure out where your outer left hip is. This is called proprioception. And it's this ability to know where our body is in relationship to the space around us. So figure out where your outer left hip is and gently hug it back a little. And then begin to straighten your left leg as the left toes roll to the ceiling. I've got my Barbie foot, that strong foot, so I'm flaring my toes a bit. I'm dragging my toes gently back towards my left knee, but I'm pressing through the big toe mound. Chest lifts, and everyone imagine shoulders are relaxed, but you're pulling your chest forward towards those left toes. Now, if you want a little greater degree of stretch or engagement, firmly press your left heel down into the mat and then try and pull it back. This is what we refer to as an isometric contraction. And then release, come back into your lunge, slide that leg back, and let's make our way to a seat. So shake out the wrists a little. Extend your right leg forward. And again, I'm always coming to that active foot, all right? When we have an active foot, it helps to draw muscle to bone. It's hugging to bone. So there can be less potential risk for pulling a muscle or joint issues. So if you're not sure, not convinced, that's fine. Question. Just let your leg be really relaxed and notice what's going on. Then see if you can find your Barbie foot and feel the difference. Now take this left knee and cross it over the top of the right. Doesn't matter, as long as it's not hurting anything, we're just crossing over. So this is referred to as half cow pose, Ardha Mukasana. It's also referred to as half shoelace pose if you're familiar with yin practice. Lengthen up. Now maybe this is enough for you and stay there. If you feel like you want more, we're trying to hinge from the hip creases. Hands can come down to frame that leg for support, or you can reach towards that right foot if that feels comfortable for you. So right here, we're trying to facilitate a nice stretch to the back of that right leg. Stay with a steady breath. We keep referring back to that diaphragmatic breath. Nice, even breaths. There's a lot of different techniques of pranayama or breathing in yoga. Right now, we just keep going back to that same full breath. Now, next inhale, look towards your right toes, lengthen, and rise up. Extend the left leg, get an active foot, cross right knee over. I'm not setting my right sole of the foot down, that's a different pose. I'm actually kind of just tucking it back. The inhale creates length. The exhale is for the depth. And once I'm wherever I'm at, then I just find that steady breath. Take one more round of breath from here. And to come out of the posture, lift your gaze towards your left toes, lengthen, and rise up. Unhook that right foot, just shake them out. And bring the soles of the feet together in Baddha Konasana, or bound ankle pose. Now, you might not look like I do. Maybe your knees, if your outer hips are tight, your knees might be here. If you have blocks or cushions, then utilize them. Just place them under the thighs and offer that support. The posture or asana will feel so much more accessible for you. Feel better for your inner groin, those muscles, iliacus, psoas, and the outer hips. Now I'm just offering a little support for my knees, or you can forego the blocks entirely. Sit up nice and tall. I always ask my students not to grab hold of their toes. The only reason is because we tend to pull up, and then that bends or supinates our ankles, which could affect our knee joints in this external rotation we have. So I'm going to hold on to my ankles. Lift the chest. Isometrically, we're back to that word again. From your inner thighs, press your inner thighs towards the floor. I don't do this work from a joint, not from my knees. It's from my inner thighs. Now, you might say, this is enough, Donna. I don't want to do anymore. That's fine. Stay right here. You might choose to hinge forward. If you're doing so, bring your chin in towards your throat to elongate the cervical spine. Some of you might say, I want to fold forward, but I need more space by moving the feet further away from the body. That's fine as well. If you're more flexible, you could bring your forearms down wherever it takes you. Just relax your shoulders away from the ears. We know what to do with the low belly. We're gently zipping those snug jeans. Take a few more rounds of breath here. And then I don't round up. We lift our gaze, lengthen our spine, and I work at rising out of poses instead of rounding and potentially harming any discs. I do try to work at lengthening. Now draw those inner thighs together. I'm going to hop my feet wide, get my Barbie feet, and do this little windshield, this rocking of the legs. So we go from an external rotation in the hips to this internal rotation. And we do what works best for us. Then extend the legs straight out along your mat. Now, seated forward folds do hold potential risks. If you have lumbar disc issues, say herniated or bulging lumbar disc, we know, and I'm going to flip around for a moment, that if my hamstrings, backs of my legs are really tight, it's going to pull me into this rounded shape. And when I press back into the lumbar spine, if I have potential risk, damage, it could exacerbate it. So I'm going to lift up, even if I need to bend my knees. Now this might be where you stay, or if your back is healthy, we begin to hinge forward. Hands can stay down on the floor for support. Some of you might be able to reach your feet. I keep pressing strongly through my Barbie feet. And again, if you want to test it out, relax your feet and you'll notice your feet start to roll out. The ankles are no longer in alignment, and this can affect all the way up through the leg. So push through the mounds of the big toes. Energetically draw your baby toes back towards your hips. So we maintain a more even and balanced stretch between the inner and outer legs. Shoulders stay relaxed. Steady breathing. And to come out of the pose, once again, I look forward and lift. So my spine is long, and then I rise up. Good. Shake those legs out. And we're going to take it all the way down to the mat. So if you have a pillow, a blanket, anything you know that you want towards the end of practice, make sure that you have it nearby. You can grab it. Reach your arms forward. Wrap the shoulders back and slowly descend down to the floor. Once we're down, keep your knees bent and the feet rooted down. Just allow the shoulders to roll back towards the floor and the palms to roll open towards the ceiling. And just pause a moment. You can either gaze softly up at the ceiling, or if you're comfortable closing your eyes within your practice, close your eyes. And just take a moment just to breathe, just to be. Notice any areas that you may be retaining tension, perhaps somewhere in your face. Relax the face, relax the tongue. Just feel into the curvature of your own spine. Notice any shifts that may have occurred in our time together. And then opening the eyes, draw the knees into your chest, flex your feet, and start to rock a little side to side. This is really nice to nourish and nurture our nervous system. And then bring your arms out to the side. Roll both knees over to your right side. Let them settle so they're not hovering midair. Now check in. If your left shoulder is not comfortably resting on the floor, bend your left elbow and bring your hand to your waistline so you're not putting undue tension on that shoulder joint. If you want, you can drop your gaze towards the left shoulder. Then try and relax your upper body. And to come out of it, always bring your head back to neutral first, so your neck is nice and neutral. Engage your low belly as the knees come back. And then drop both knees to the left. Again, check in with your right shoulder. If it won't stay down, bring the hand in to where it's more comfortable or accessible. Drop your chin towards your right shoulder. And then bring the head back to neutral, flex the feet, bring yourself back to neutral. Give yourself a hug, relax your shoulders. If you don't have any problems with your cervical spine or osteoporosis, then you're welcome to curl the forehead towards the knees, staying relaxed through the shoulders to stretch out the back of the neck. Then release the head down. Rock your head side to side a little like a slow shake of no. Begin to extend the legs out. We're going to do 3 rounds of Tadaka Mudra. If you're not familiar with this mudra, what we do is we inhale totally, fill the body up. We exhale out all the air, and on the exhale, no breath, we draw the navel center down and we hollow out the belly the best we can. In fact, the belly almost feels like not only drawing down, but tucks under the ribs. Now, if you should not be holding your breath at all, then skip this and just breathe normally. If you're pregnant or have maybe a hiatal hernia, maybe this is not the best mudra for you. So you have to choose what works. We're going to reach the arms overhead, clasp your hands, and spin your palms to face the wall behind you. Take a breath, fill up. Let out all the air from the body. And then hollow the belly down, no breath. Now soften the belly to receive a breath, breathe in again. Breathe out totally. Hollow the belly. Soften the belly, last round. Take a deep breath in. Release the breath out. Hollow the belly. Now, if you're familiar with all 3 bandhas or locks of the body, then you're engaging all three. If you have no idea, that's fine as well. Soften and breathe. Now release your arms down. Flip your palms open and walk your feet wider. If you need to make any other adjustments in this final resting pose of Shavasana, so those adjustments could be varied. Maybe you're raking the flesh of your buttocks towards your heels to make more space in your low back. Maybe you're wiggling your shoulder blades underneath you slightly more so that the arms can more easily rotate open. Maybe you put on socks, slippers, you cover yourself, maybe you have a pillow under your head. There's so many options here. Just close your eyes and take a moment and just notice. Just notice. That's it. Notice your body. Notice any shift that has occurred in our time together. That shift may be very subtle or maybe not. Notice the energy that you're feeling in your body. Notice if your body's a little tingly or just becoming aware. Do you feel a little more open, a little more flexible, not quite as tight? Maybe it's more a mental. Perhaps you came into this practice with very scattered, chaotic thoughts. And now maybe you feel just slightly calmer than you did. Softer. Maybe the shift was more emotional. Perhaps you came into the practice feeling very emotional in whatever way that might be. And now you feel just a little more balanced, a little more grounded. And that's what we want to use our practice for, is to facilitate these shifts that we need, whatever that might be in your life right now, whatever it may mean. Hopefully we come out of a yoga practice, wherever we're practicing, feeling better than when we started. And when that happens, we know that we have made this energetic shift. Please feel free to stay in Shavasana for as long as you need or want. I thank you for joining me today in this practice. Thank you for sharing this time, sharing our individual spaces, but most of all, it's the sharing of energy, regardless of where you're at in the world. We come together and we share our energy. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.